Hello and welcome to IndiaPostLive.com. We are India's first live and interactive news conversation web TV, and I'm Prachi Jatanya. Within days of taking charge, the Narendra Modi government decided to open up foreign direct investment in defense sector to up to 100%, looking at attracting global investors. Will this policy really see the light of day in a very encouraging global investment atmosphere, or will it once again get a very lukewarm response that it has seen in the previous government's tenure? We'll pose that question to our viewers and our panelists. We'll take a look at some details in this video.
The new government has been hands-on since taking charge on the 26th of May, and it looks like there's no stopping it. In what is seen as a major policy initiative, the Modi government is all set to raise FDI in defence to 100%. This is probably what the party meant when it said that it would work towards minimising defence imports in the country. Defence Minister Arun Jaitley has said that he will consider the proposal made by the Commerce and Industries Ministry's Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. This move is expected to revive the manufacturing sector, where there was a dip in the output by 0.2% in the fiscal year ending 31st March 2014. Will this encourage manufacturing in India and bring in global investors?
So 100% FDI for companies manufacturing, defense equipment and state-of-the-art machinery. To give us more perspective and tell us any possible concerns or reservations that the industry or the Ministry of Defense could possibly have, we have in the studio very interesting guests, Lieutenant General Retired Ata Hasnain, who joins us to give his perspective with his very, very thorough experience in the field. He'll tell us what the Army's take would be and the armed forces take on it. Also, we have Dr. P. Pullara, who's an economist. He'll also give us the entire, insight on what the industry and what can be the possible drawbacks, if any, of this. We also have Sagat Shaunik joining us. He's a person who does research at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, joining us via Google Hangout. And we also have Chinmay Sharma of the Aam Aadmi Party joining us via Bangalore. Thank you so much, all of you, for your participation. I'll just come to Lieutenant General Hasnain. Thank you so much, sir, for being here in the studio. What are your first thoughts from the 26% to the 49, 74 and 100% in the various segments of the defense sector?
Thank you for that. It's a very relevant question. But let me say, first of all, that this is a proposal as yet. The last time also we saw these proposals had kept going up and down. In 2010 also a proposal to increase it to as much as 74% was put up. What we are seeing at the moment is just a draft cabinet note, which has moved to look at up to 100%, which is a very encouraging kind of a thing. Obviously, it has come about because of the problems of procurement that we are facing in the Ministry of Defense. Our technology over a period of time has not been able to keep pace with our requirements. Our own research and development organization, although we have spent a lot of money on it, has not been able to deliver completely. It would be unfair to say that it has not been able to deliver at all. But to the extent required, it has not been able to deliver. So obviously, there's a requirement to encourage investment from abroad. The last time we opened up to 26% in 2001, it attracted, I think, a total of $5 million.
Right.
Now, $5 million in 13 years is actually peanuts. Mm-hmm. So we are looking at something completely different. And I feel quite excited by this entire thing.
Right. Dr. Pullara?
There's one thing one can agree with the Honorable General straight away, that the DRDO has not been a good organization. They've taken thousands and thousands of crores of rupees, and it's all a hush-hush affair, and nothing is coming out of it. That we can fully agree. And now and then, except for media drives and publicity shows, there's really nothing they have contributed. They have huge offices, huge laboratories, huge amount of infrastructure, and government pampers them also, because it's something to do with defense and research like the Atomic Energy Commission. The inbuilt inefficiencies of such organizations we don't know. But we definitely know that they have not been productive and they have not done anything. The second aspect is that just because you open 100% FDI, plants are not going to come here running. I mean, I have a different view. There are plants which operate on economies of scale. You have to produce a minimum so many jets or so many guns and so much production for it to be even viable. So though they said 100%, I don't know, maybe they'll end up making non-armament affairs, maybe tents or maybe this, maybe that, maybe small arms, maybe ammunition. But definitely in today's world where there's so much trade and where the same armament supplier based in USA or Russia supplies all the parties, now there's no harm in making, a reality of such a ridiculous things that war in two countries, the armaments are supplied by the same manufacturer. So let them have a factory here. There's no harm, I think. And there is not much to be worried about secrecy and this and that because there are no secrets at all.
Right. We'll get in some opposing views. Center for Indian Trade Unions has already put out a proposal and a press release that they are opposing 100% FDI in the defense sector. They are actually going to be meeting the Commerce and Finance Minister later today and tomorrow to try and discuss, because there's going to be a meeting between the minister and various stakeholders on this regard. We also have someone very interesting connected to this, joining us via the phone line from Kanpur, Mr. Gopal Sharma. He's the Joint Secretary of the Central Government Employees Confederation. Mr. Sharma, if you can hear me?
Yes.
Right. What do you think about a panelist's optimism in terms of allowing that 100% FDI in the defense sector, in manufacturing especially?
अभी मैंने लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल और इकोनॉमिक्स साहब के बात, दोनों की मैंने बात सुनी थी। उसमें हमको ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा कि 100% एफडीआई की जो ये लोग स्वागत कर रहे हैं, अभी कोई भी ऐसी गन नहीं है, कोई भी ऐसा एमिनेशन नहीं है जो इंडियन ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज तैयार नहीं कर रही है। अभी आप बफोर्स का उदाहरण ले लीजिए कि अभी इन्होंने जो बाहर से खरीदे थे कारगिल के वार में, इनको एमिनेशन बाहर से जब लेना पड़ा तो वो 10 टाइम्स उन्होंने उसकी कीमत बताई, मगर ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्री कानपुर ने उससे 10 गुना सस्ता एमिनेशन तैयार करके दिया। और उस वक्त 100, ये जानते होंगे 105 एलएफजी और आईएफजी जो सबसे हल्की गने हैं, इसका ऑर्डर बंद हो गया था। और उसके बाद फिर भी ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्री ने 10 साल बाद उसको बनाकर उस कारगिल के टाइम में भेजा, जो कि सबसे टॉप पहाड़ियों पर इसी गनों ने काम किया। बाद में बफोर्स गन 155 ने काम किया। तो ऐसी कोई सी गन ऐसी नहीं है, कोई भी एमिनेशन ऐसा नहीं है। इतना बड़ा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमारे पास है। हम रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग से काम कर रहे हैं। T90, T72 रशियन पूरी टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास है। हम लोग पूरा काम डिफेंस सेल्फ रिलायंस की तरफ बढ़ रहा है। हमें नहीं समझ आता कि ये एफडीआई करके क्या देश में सेल्फ रिलायंस की तरफ बढ़ रहे हैं या दूसरे पर डिपेंडेंसी बढ़ा रहे हैं। वी आर टोटली अगेंस्ट, बिकॉज सेल्फ रिलायंस इन द डिफेंस इज अवर मोटो। और इसके लिए हम लोग काफी ट्राई कर रहे हैं। जहां तक डीआरडीओ की बात है, उस सेक्टर में क्या ये लोग विदेशी पूंजी लगाएंगे, कितना रिसर्च करेंगे, वो हमें पता नहीं। मगर जो ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज हैं उसके अंदर पहले भी दो कोर ग्रुप और नॉन कोर ग्रुप, जो आपके केलकर कमेटी और आपके जो पीएमओ ऑफिस से दूसरी जो कमेटी थी, नायर कमेटी, इन लोगों ने रिकमेंडेशन दी थी। और उसमें हमारे लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल वगैरह हमारे ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज का दौरा किए थे। उन लोगों ने भी कहा नहीं, ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज ठीक काम कर रही है। इसको 30% हम प्रोडक्शन करते हैं और 70% ही इंपोर्ट करते हैं। तो जो इंपोर्ट पोर्शन है उसको एफडीआई किया जाए, मगर जो हमारा अपना घरेलू उत्पादन है इसको बंद ना किया जाए। ये हमारे जो एमजीओज हैं उनकी ये रिपोर्ट कहती है।
Right. Mr. Sharma, very valid points. We do have our guests in the studio who want to respond to you. Stay with us on the phone, Mr. Sharma.
थैंक यू मिस्टर शर्मा। मैं आपका जवाब देता हूँ। आई थिंक मैं स्पीक इन हिंदी और इंग्लिश, एनीथिंग? मैं आपको ये बताना चाहता हूँ कि सबसे पहले ये ऐसी सिचुएशन नहीं है जिसको हम ब्लैक एंड वाइट में देख रहे हैं कि बिल्कुल सब कुछ बंद हो जाए। जो घरेलू सामान यहाँ पैदा हो रहा है, जो उसका उत्पादन हो रहा है, and we bring in everything from abroad. We also understand this entire issue, but we see that there is 70% import. 30% जो आप कह रहे हैं सही, वो आप यहाँ मैन्युफैक्चर कर रहे हैं। कोई इसको नहीं कहता कि इसको बंद करें। Ordnance factories have done a good job. I also admit that. They've done a good job. But the issue is that of technology. आप तो ये मानेंगे definitely that the full route of manufacture is first research, then subsequent production. रिसर्च में तो आपको मानना पड़ेगा कि हमारी काबिलियत जो है वो बहुत क्वेश्चनेबल है। जो अभी डॉक्टर पुल्ला साहब ने भी अभी बताया इसके बारे में कि बहुत क्वेश्चनेबल है। मैं आपको उदाहरण देता हूँ। आई थिंक 1987 से मैं सुन रहा हूँ आपका नाग मिसाइल जो है वो प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है। आज तक वो नाग मिसाइल है कहाँ? नाउ वी आर 27 years ahead. Where is the Nag missile? Every time we have to go abroad to bring in anti-tank missiles. And anti-tank missiles are one of the very basic components of defense. So what we are looking at is, since we have failed virtually in the aspect of development of the correct technology, we are not saying we are going up to 100% technology which is there available in the world. We are looking at somewhere near that. And that the only way we can do it is by having partnerships, strong partnerships. And no one is going to come into partnerships if you're going to give them 26% FDI or less than that even. So what we are looking at is primarily a very pragmatic procedure, a system. We are going to make sure that our interests are also maintained in this entire thing.
Right. I'll get in Sagat here. Sagat Shonik joins us on Google Hangout. Sagat, you are also, your parents and family have been from the army background. You're following the entire progression of the armed forces for quite some time. What are your thoughts about allowing this kind of 100% manufacturing capability to global investors and global companies?
Okay, so my consideration is that if you are having 100%, the Indian ownership of an organization is the main concern, whereby we say that at least have Indian ownership of 51% share, and the rest can be any FDI. And second thing which I consider very important is that the service sector, especially towards software developments for all our military hardware and the IT enabled services for the same, that has to be very much encouraged from the Indian scenario. So rather than going for a point blank 100%, I think having 51% Indian ownership and 49% of foreign ownership would be a better option for us.
Right. What do you think, Dr. Pullara?
I personally feel that we have to try new policies. What has done us here stagnation.
Yes.
You see, and whatever you might say that at least we'll get now, the whole situation will be ventilated. Once there is some other industry coming out, we'll know whether we can dovetail our production capacities with them or not. And I don't think, as General Saab has just said, just because you say 100%, the entire defense sector is going to be fed by FDI. As he has mentioned, there hardly $5 million came in, which is nothing. So I don't think there's floodgates of
Global
investment will
investment,
come, but
right.
there may be some small sectors, and maybe they'll add to technology, maybe they'll enhance technology, maybe they'll give us by their technology, maybe our DRDOs and other private sector units in India. One of the ideas of giving FDI 100% is you give them flexibility and they'll find Indian partners also.
Exactly.
So they may find Indian competent technical partners who have the necessary wherewithal, say heavy equipment. They may go in with the Indian heavy manufacturers like Larsen and Toubro, they may find it worthwhile. Therefore, 100% is giving them comfort. 100% is not what they'll eventually take.
We've also read reports in the last couple of days, once the clearance came for this 100% hike, that a lot of bloggers have stated that the Indian industry is divided. You know, ASSOCHAM, CII, industry bodies are trying to get the industry on board. Pipavav Industry Limited, you know, the leadership seems to feel that they will benefit with a partnership like Dr. Pullara is stating of a transfer of technology and manufacturing as well, whereas the Larsen and Toubro leadership and management seems to feel that beyond 49% seems to be a bit over ambitious. I'll just get in Mr. Chinmay Sharma joining us from Bangalore of the Aam Aadmi Party. Mr. Sharma, what is the party stand and what is your view on the entire debate?
मैम चाहे रिटेल में एफडीआई हो या फिर डिफेंस में एफडीआई हो, एक प्रॉपर स्ट्रेटेजी रहना बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि हमने जो पिछले सालों में देखा है कि जो एफडीआई हमारे देश में आई है, उसने चाहे चीन की कंपनीज हो, चाहे यूएस की कंपनीज हो या यूके की कंपनीज, उन्होंने पूरी तरह जो इंडियन इंडस्ट्री उसको पूरी तरह कैप्चर कर लिया है। और कैप्चर ही नहीं करा, जो भारतीय उद्योग है उनको पूरी तरह बर्बाद भी कर दिया। कुछ ही कंपनीज बची हैं भारत में जो खुद का निर्माण करती हैं। और अगर हम देखें कि पिछले सालों में हमने कितना एक्सपोर्ट करा और कितना इम्पोर्ट करा है, तो अगर कहीं ना कहीं हमारे जो रुपए की जो गिरने का कारण है, उसको ये भी मान सकते हैं कि हमारा जो इम्पोर्ट है चीज़ों का, या फिर जो हमारे देश से जो जितनी भी मल्टीनेशनल कंपनीज हैं या एफडीआई कंपनीज हैं, वो जितना भी सामान हमारे यहाँ पे बनाकर बाहर जो पैसा ले जा रही है, उसका बहुत बड़ा परिणाम हमारे देश की इकोनॉमी को भुगतना पड़ रहा है। महंगाई के कारण कहीं ना कहीं वो भी एक कारण हमारे देश में है कि हमारे यहाँ के जो उद्योग हैं वो उतने विकसित नहीं हो पाए। और कहीं ना कहीं अगर ये माने कि उद्योगों को नहीं विकसित होने दिया जाए या नहीं हो पा रहे, तो उसके पीछे कहीं ना कहीं एफडीआई की कंपनीज का बहुत बड़ा हाथ है। तो अगर डिफेंस में भी अगर हम देखें, तो हमारा पहली चीज तो अगर हम ये देखते हैं कि हमारा देश ऐसा नहीं है जिसके साथ में पड़ोसी देशों की बहुत लड़ाइयाँ छिड़ी रहती हैं। और ना ही ऐसा कोई देश है हमारा जो वॉर को बहुत देता है कि हमें मतलब लड़ाई ही करनी है। जैसे अमेरिका है, अमेरिका इज अ वॉर बेस्ड कंट्री, उसकी जो इकोनॉमी है वो वॉर बेस्ड इकोनॉमी है, वो पूरी दुनिया में जो है वॉर इक्विपमेंट सप्लाई करता है। रशिया भी सेम है, वो भी वॉर इक्विपमेंट सप्लाई करता है। तो हमें सोचने की यहाँ जरूरत है कि हम अपना पैसा कहाँ खर्च कर रहे हैं।
Right, right. Interesting note. We're getting a lot of tweets on this subject as well. Abhishek Kumar says that FDI and defense is a moderate idea. It does frighten. How do we, address those issues which are of concerns? Sanjay Kumar saying that FDI and defense, if it's only export oriented, then 100%. Else for home production, 75% with transfer of technology. General sir.
Absolutely. Let me come in on these tweets itself. I think the fear which exists within the Indian establishment is a justified fear. We've lived through 67 years, 68 years of this fear. And we are, as a nation, we are normally afraid to experiment. I think these are all mindsets of the past. When we know that these have not worked, and I can tell you as a practitioner in the field,
Exactly.
the INSAS rifle, for example, it doesn't excite an infantryman at all. Let me tell you, right? There are various systems, as a user I can tell you, which are just not user friendly, which don't have the right kind of technology. And technology keeps changing over a period of time, right? And in India, we are slow at this change. So we need systems by which we absorb technology in a faster way.
Exactly.
The fear which is coming up among most people is loss of jobs, right? Something coming in, splurging completely, taking everything apart and dominating the entire economic and technological scene. I don't think any government is going to do that. We have a government, just elected, a new government, pragmatic, sensible people who are going to sit on this and take the right decisions. I also don't expect decisions like the ones in the previous government where we slowed down the entire process, and since 1987, we have not been able to get a decent gun. We are looking for the light mountain gun now for the last many years. You know, the Mountain Strike Corps has come up and we are looking for a gun for that. We are looking for AD systems. We are looking for defense electronics from time to time. Mostly people are afraid of not only the loss of jobs, but also the aspect of security. Now, security cannot become what you say in Hindi, a hawa, right? And we have a habit. Whenever we get into any problem, we always bring in the issue of security. I can assure you, these things you can go around them. And I'm sure that our systems will take care of it itself.
Right. We also have a video response from Ms. Jaya Jaitley. We spoke to her earlier. She is a political analyst. This is her take on the FDI in defense sector. Listen in.
Well, I'm surprised that this NDA would say such a thing about 100%, because the last NDA, and particularly since I knew the views of the defense minister, was that he was very keen on indigenizing as much as possible. And he gave all support to the PSUs. I think it's very important to realize what you can allow foreign investment in and what items you can't. Anything that directly affects security should not be. It would be, especially when we say what a great big country we are, this is one sector where we need to be as self-reliant as possible. If it's just tennis shoes or cricket bats or jackets or anything like that, caps which don't matter, surely perhaps China or Taiwan or anybody else might be better or efficient or even cheaper. But when it's equipment of a serious nature, we have institutions and we need to strengthen them. We should be very careful about dividing what you can afford to get from outside and what you absolutely must develop here. Well, PSUs have always been cows to be milked and also cows to be barricaded out in a sense. There has always been inside the bureaucracy and other interested elements to see that they really don't come up. I know at least with the telephone industries, ITI suffered a lot with workers really crying that they were not getting basic equipment and they could not do their work. Then they would be pulled up for not doing it because files were always blocked or going too slowly, and the typical red tape that happens. The example of the snowmobiles in Siachen, for instance, which became a big issue, it was just because the file was moving for 2 years and people were dying in between. So it was only when the minister went up there and saw the problem that he insisted the officials go up there and see for themselves. So that was a stark example of how we harm our own interests by letting the bureaucracy go slow. Hopefully if the bureaucracy works like a good private sector, and the present Prime Minister can change people's thinking on that, it will help. And I think to have a good public sector enterprise in India will help us and sell those things all over the world as well.
I just see Dr. Pulla Rao itching to give his response to Ms. Jaitley's statement.
There is something, I'm sure she has said it after much thought and being a senior public person, but there's a limit. All our technology, we have submarines in India, aircraft carriers, and they're all imported.
Yes.
Largely, only we have Indian names for them. We bought a huge carrier for $7 billion.
Yes.
So it's nice to think this is not Swadeshi, is not possible to that extent, because our rivals or neighbors have other better equipment. You have to match them. And by the time you wait for BHAL to come up with a gun, we may not need them anymore. Therefore, past experience has shown two things. That when Mr. George Fernandez was there, he did a lot of groundwork. He went to the modern forward areas. He created that feeling that Defense Minister must go there and see. All that is very welcome, laudable. But in the end, what happened? Nothing happened. Therefore, we have to have new ideas. And secondly, I still say that just because somebody has come here and set up a factory to make guns, our Indian Army is not going to buy them. They have limited budgets also. They have to spend only so much money, and they just can't go and buy things. And third thing which I would say is to say good officials will be transformed, or officials will become good by Mr. Narendra Modi. I mean, it's very unfortunate to have such, it's fortunate to have optimism. Officials will be the same. The driving force will be the politicians. To what extent they can get this policy implemented, if it's a good policy. And I can tell you, if it's not a good policy, it will die. There are many foreign chains who came here and they backed away for retail also because it doesn't work out.
Right. Let's see if Mr. Gopal Sharma is still with us. Mr. Sharma? I don't believe we have him. General sir, we were talking about PSUs and what Ms. Jaitley has pointed out, but we've seen that the DRDO with its 5,000 scientists, 25,000 support personnel has never been able to give a timely delivery of state-of-the-art technology or that kind of our state-of-the-art technology at all. So that's where we are lagging. The PSUs don't seem to be, their growth seems to be, or capacity seems to be stymied by bureaucratic hurdles.
I'll once again bat for the DRDO and say that the DRDO has not failed us completely, right? On requirement basis, DRDO has come in and delivered on certain things. But by and large, the quantum of technology which is required here and in modern warfare today particularly, obviously the DRDO is way behind. And you cannot blame them, because ultimately it's the scientific temper of the nation. It is how much you have in terms of education, technological institutes, etc. I'm sure the IITs, etc., which are world class, have still not been able to deliver and be able to feed the DRDO with those kind of quality of scientists who can ultimately produce. That is the very reason why we are looking at this entire thing. And I'll come back and say once again, reiterate, that there seems to be a worry in the environment. 100% does not mean 100%. It means up to 100%. And I will look at 100%, particularly for areas where total transfer of technology is required. Something which you just cannot develop in India at the current juncture. Otherwise, you've got varying things from 49 to 74 and maybe 85 and 90%. It all depends on how you contract the entire thing.
Most definitely. Sagat, if at this point you want to share your views, don't you think that India can use that partnership with becoming a manufacturing hub with global investors and global defense companies coming here? We can become a regional hub to be able to share this kind of, become, a source for our neighbors to actually purchase from us.
Yeah, now definitely we can be that source, and we can also have manufacturing hub. Now the question is that, now what about our surplus? Like suppose we build a lot of surplus. There are certain import restrictions, export restrictions within, say, countries like America itself, which will never buy our surplus, even though it may be their own tanks and guns produced in India. But because of their policy and their laws, it all has to be manufactured within American soil so that they can purchase those things for their army. So if you want to play a major role, say, in Asia, definitely we can do that. But to the larger extent, can we really export our surplus to America? Or even to, say, Russia or any European nation? Do their laws permit that? So one has to really consider that purchasing parity of, along with policy procedures of other countries, and then see whether can we really be a big hub or just a small contributor, or can we actually just sustain for our own army? That question really lies in the heart of this matter.
You need not export to America or Russia. You can export to Sri Lanka, you can export to Africa, you can export to
Bangladesh.
anybody who would buy it. So you need not say that America must buy the stuff. Anybody doesn't matter who buys it as long as it's an export. And if you're in a position to export, it's fine. If you're not in a position to export to your neighbors, you can hardly export it 12,000 miles away. We hope that such an industry, though it's not, as I have said earlier, giving 100% doesn't mean you're going to have $5 billion investment. You may only have $50 million investment. There's a lot of noise about nothing, because industries are not going to come here and also give technology transfer. There are various other problems also, and they should not. There are patent laws around the world, and they'll maintain their patents. The only thing which we should get a little more sunlight into is what is the DRDO doing? Like ISRO, it's another holy cow, and we don't know what's actually happening, and it may open up whether this body can do research in some other fields, because they've done nothing. As an outsider or as a layman, I haven't seen them doing anything here.
Right. Mr. Sharma, Gopal Sharma, listening into our discussion. Mr. Sharma, your last views on this topic. Do you then go for a flexible FDI policy, especially in, looking at manufacturing sector for the defense industry?
देखिए एक बात ये बात पूरा कंसल्टेशन जो अभी आपका वो हुआ डिस्कशन का, वो डीआरडीओ पर ज्यादा डिस्कशन हो रहा है और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के ऊपर डिस्कशन नहीं हो रहा। मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के ऊपर मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ, अगर टीओटी करते हैं, टीओटी पहले भी होता है, इजराइल के साथ काफी टीओटी हो रहा है और सबसे ज्यादा टेक्नोलॉजी में एडवांस है इजराइल, और वहां से टीओटी होता है। दूसरी चीजों में जो दूसरे कंट्रियों के अंदर बात चल रही है, जो 70% जो हमारे 7 पब्लिक सेक्टर यूनिट्स है, जो नॉन प्रोडक्टिव यूनिट्स हैं, नॉन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट्स हैं, उन पे बात करने की अलग बात है। आपका डिस्कशन केवल डीआरडीओ के ऊपर खत्म हो रहा है। मैन्युफैक्चरिंग हम रिवर्स इंजीनियरिंग से बहुत मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कर रहे हैं और इंडिया को सेल्फ रिलायंस की तरफ ले गए। हम किसी पे डिपेंडेंसी नहीं है और हमारी क्वालिटी, अभी आपने बफोर्स में पूरे हिंदुस्तान में हमने उसको प्रचार किया। यू कम टू फील्ड गन फैक्ट्री कानपुर, यू कम टू ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्री कानपुर, यू सी द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस ऑफ आवर ऑर्डिनेंस फैक्ट्रीज।
Mr. Sharma, don't you then feel that a joint partnership for manufacturing as well, especially if you have more advanced technology like you're stating in case of Israel, won't it benefit the manufacturing sector for defense equipment as well?
We are manufacturing the quality equipment, and at part of world level globalized, we are exporting the defense production also in the ordnance. We are not equipment. ऑर्डिनेंस ग्रुप वी आर एक्सपोर्टिंग आल्सो, बट हम ये कहना चाह रहे हैं कि आप टीओटी करें, मगर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में अगर किसी कंपनी को लाएंगे तो हमारा पूरा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बर्बाद होगा। उसके साथ जो छोटी फर्में जुड़ी हुई, हमारी सोशल सिक्योरिटी है, हमारे नागरिक की सिक्योरिटी है, एम्प्लॉयमेंट की सिक्योरिटी है, ये सारी चीज हमारे देश में खत्म करेंगे अगर एफडीआई लाएंगे तो।
Ji, great, Mr. Sharma. Thank you for your participation. Very valid points raised by Mr. Sharma, concerns and reservations from the ordnance side of the defense sector. One last view coming in, one final view from Mr. Chinmay. Chinmay joining us, representing the Aam Aadmi Party. Do you then agree with what Mr. Sharma is saying, that a flexible FDI policy not really is not the answer also?
यस मैम, क्योंकि मैं मानता हूं कि जो अगर हम 2013 का भी अगर देखें तो खाली डिफेंस पर इंडिया ने $47.4 बिलियन खर्च करे हैं, तो ये कम नहीं है। हमारे देश में पहली चीज तो हमारे देश में जो प्रायोरिटीज हैं उन प्रायोरिटीज को देखना चाहिए। ऐसा नहीं है कि इंडिया में लोगों के पास दिमाग नहीं है, टेक्नोलॉजी हमारे पास भी है, आईआईटी हमारे पास भी है, और अगर हम इस पर स्पेंड ज्यादा अच्छी तरह करें अपनी आईआईटीज पे, अपने डीआरडीओ पे, तो ये नहीं है हम भी मतलब पूरी दुनिया में इतनी कंट्रीज हैं, उनमें से 7 नंबर की कंट्री में आते हैं जिसने सुपर कंप्यूटर बनाया है। तो ऐसा तो नहीं है कि हमारे देश में दिमाग नहीं है, बस ये है कि यूटिलाइजेशन नहीं है। अगर हम पैसे का सही यूज करें और बाहर से इंपोर्ट करने से अच्छा इंडियन जो टेक्नोलॉजी उस पर अगर ध्यान दें और उसको डेवलप करें, तो मेरे ख्याल से हम विकसित देशों में की श्रेणी में बहुत जल्दी आएंगे।
Right. General sir, one question that I had, that there are misconceptions primarily in terms of the security threat. The higher FDI limit would be a threat to our national security because it would insulate India from unilateral imposition of embargoes in contracts with these foreign players.
This again is a holy cow. You see, yes, as I told you before, security is the big humbug around everything which is always brought in so that you prevent this kind of a progress. Let me tell you, as I said before, after all, you're going to be negotiating these contracts, right? And at the moment itself, if you're importing equipment, at the time of a crisis, that channel may just close down.
Right.
And you'll be in the same situation. Here, if nothing else, the FDI has come in. You've got a factory inside India. The thing is being produced. I can't look at that kind of a situation where the entire thing suddenly shuts down. That's going to be to the disadvantage of the foreign player themselves, right? So I don't think we should develop around this issue of security, because every time that we have come up against this problem, they've always used the term security for putting an obstacle to this progress. But let me also just bring in one interesting aspect which Mr. Sharma had just brought in just now. We are not ending this discussion at DRDO. We are taking it at manufacturing also. Manufacturing today is in the currency of things. We are looking at future.
Yes.
We are looking at 25 years ahead. Heart of hearts, you go and ask a cavalryman, is he comfortable in an Arjun tank today? He will never be comfortable.
Right.
Right? Most of the equipment, to give you the example of the INSAS rifle itself,
Yes.
I am not confident with my men. I'd rather have an AK-47, which is also being manufactured, of course, in India these days. But the point is that technology in India, in the currency of manufacturing, that is not the answer. We are looking at the future. And for the future, we need technology. And that is why we brought in the DRDO. That the DRDO is not being able to give you that technology which can take you into the future of manufacturing.
Interesting. On that note, final views from Dr. Pula Rao also before we wrap up this discussion here, Dr. Pula Rao.
As I said, it's not a really big issue. It's just a message to the world across that we are open for business.
Great.
Who wants to come, you come. And I don't think they're rushing here. From past experience, they'll be very meticulous. They will select Indian partners. They will find Indian partners to do their manufacturing and other ground things. Therefore, it will be just like any other sector.
Interesting. And I'll thank all my guests. Sagat Shaunik also joining us via Google Hangout for his interesting take. Chinmay Sharma from the Aam Aadmi Party, Bangalore. Thank you so much to Mr. Gopal Sharma as well for that very interesting pointers and, actually raising concerns of what the Ordnance Factory contributes to the Indian Armed Forces in terms of its equipment and its indigenization. We also thank Lieutenant General Atta Hasnain for his great insight and participation in our studio discussion, and Dr. P. Pula Rao for his perspectives on this entire discussion. A very lively, engaging and informative discussion. You can also participate and put in your audio, video comments. I thank all our guests to take forward this conversation on our Twitter handle @IndiaPostLive, hashtag Prachi Jatania as well. And you can take it forward with all our participants and guests. We want to get your views and feedback on what you thought of this show. And stay tuned for more interesting discussions and conversations on IndiaPostLive.com. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.